Hello, hello, hello. Happy new week. Happy Monday. Happy new week. How is everybody doing today? How was your weekend? I had a really good weekend, actually. But we're not going to get into that because we have so much content to cover today on this Mindset Wednesday. We're going to be answering a lot of questions. We're going to be answering the question of how do you turn your professional skills into a coaching business? We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about can you build a second income stream while you're working your 9 to 5? We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about how do you know if your skills are valuable enough to charge for? We're going to be talking about why high achieving women still feel financially vulnerable. We're going to be getting into what is the first step to monetizing your skills. And then we're going to talk about how do you stop waiting to feel ready and how do you actually start building. And then finally, we're going to be getting into is coaching a good income stream for professional women. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. Okay, so let me know. Let's do a quick tech check before we get into it. If you can see and hear me okay, please drop a yes in the chat so I know that we are good to go because I do not want you to miss any of this good that I am about to drop for you today. I want to start off by asking you something, and I want you to think about it before you answer, even if you're just answering it in your head. And that question is, what would happen if your job disappeared tomorrow? Not because you failed or because you weren't excellent or because you did a single thing wrong, but what would happen if your company made a decision that had nothing to do with your performance and everything to do with a budget conversation that happened in a room that you were never invited to? Because the thing about it is, I think that this question hits a little bit differently now than it used to, because for a long time, that question felt hypothetical. It felt like something that happened to other people, right? It felt like something you could acknowledge intellectually without feeling like it would affect you personally. But I think in this day and time, a lot of women are feeling it a lot more personally now because they're watching it happen. They are literally watching people they know, people who did everything right, people who were excellent and loyal and valuable. They get a phone call or an email or a meeting that they were not expecting. Has this happened to you? And everything that these women have planned around their financial lives, it is changed in an instant. But here's the thing that I want you to notice about these moments, because it's not just that the income disappears, it's the identity that disappears. It is the structure, it is the entire framework a person has built their sense of safety around, dismantled in a single conversation that they had no control over. And that right there is exactly what I want to talk about today. And I don't want to talk about it from a place of fear. I want to talk about it from a place of honesty, because I think there are women who are watching this right now who have a quiet awareness that their safety is more fragile than it looks from the outside. And these are women who are excellent at their jobs, who have built their careers, who are making good money, and who you still feel somewhere underneath all of that confidence like you're one restructuring email away from a completely different life than what you live right now. If that is you, give this video a thumbs up. And I want to talk about that feeling today because I think it's been sitting in too many women's, they've just been feeling it for far too long, and nobody's really calling it what it is. So drop your city in the comments if you're watching live, and if you're watching the replay, drop it in the comments as well, because I want to see where in the world this conversation is resonating today. Welcome back to another episode of Nick at Noon. My name is Nick Scott, and I'm the founder and CEO of Her Income Edit. We are an online education platform where we help professional women turn their existing skills into coaching, income, and digital products so they can build their multiple streams of income beyond a single paycheck. So, if you are excellent at what you do, if you're underpaid for what you know, and you're starting to question whether your job is your only option, you are in the right place. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. I see you on YouTube. You are in the right place. Now, if you haven't already, I invite you to go get your notebook and your pen, share this episode with your biz bestie. And if you are watching live or if you're watching the replay, drop your questions in the chat as we go. I will be stopping periodically to see if there's any feedback or questions in the chat. And if you're watching the replay, I will get to your questions in the comments at the appropriate time. But before we get into it, y'all know, if you haven't already heard, Her Income Lab registration is open officially. We officially opened registration last week. And guess what? Registration is still open. And if you haven't heard about it, Her Income Lab is a live one-day workshop, and it is happening on May 30th. We are going to be building your coaching offer in real time. We're going to be talking about your niche, your positioning, your messaging, your pricing. You are going to walk out with something real that you can sell that week. Seats are limited, and we are in the final stretch of this thing, y'all. We are less than 2 weeks out. General registration is $147, or you can upgrade to the VIP for $297. And I will share more information about it in this video. But for now, the link is in the description, or you can go to my website at herincomeedit.com/workshop. Now, we are about to get into this conversation. If you are ready to get into this one, drop ready in the chat, because let me tell you, this conversation is good. And, it is Mindset Monday. Happy New Week. Thanks for joining on YouTube. It is Mindset Monday, and I hope that I am going to be offering a new POV on a lot of these things, and hopefully shifting how you feel and see about some of these things as we get into this content. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. If you can see and hear me okay, please give this video a thumbs up. Now, let me paint a picture for you. And I want you to tell me, if you are watching live, drop it in the chat if this sounds familiar. If you're watching the replay, just leave it in the comments, okay? Here's the picture. It's a Sunday evening. Everything on the outside looks fine. The house is good. The kids are handled. The week is planned, but there's a low hum underneath everything. It's a tension that you're feeling that you can't quite put your finger on. It's not really dread. It's more like an awareness. It's an awareness that tomorrow morning you're going to log back in and give your best hours, the best hours of your day, to a structure that doesn't belong to you. And somewhere between sending your last email and going to bed, you'll have a passing thought about the thing that you keep meaning to do. You have a thought about the idea that you've been carrying, the thing people keep telling you that you should turn into something. And you might think, you know what, I'll get serious about that soon. And then another week starts. Does that sound familiar? Does that feel familiar to you? Does any part of that feel familiar to you? If it does, type yes in the comments if that Sunday feeling is real for you, because I want to take a few minutes and I want to talk about that feeling. I want to talk about that feeling, and I don't want to shame it. Like, we don't shame over here. And I don't want to make anybody who's watching this or listening to this feel behind. I want to talk about it because that feeling is telling you something extremely important. And a lot of women have been treating that feeling like it's background noise instead of information. And here's what I believe is happening underneath that feeling. I think a lot of women are living in this very specific tension that I just described. I think they're living in it right now. On one hand, you have worked incredibly hard to build careers and lives that you're proud of, right? But then on the other hand, you've become more financially dependent on those careers than you're fully comfortable with. If that's you, I want you to know that you're not alone. But here's the thing, those two things can be true at the same time. Here's what I mean by that. You can be proud of what you built, but you can still recognize that you've built it on a foundation that isn't entirely yours. Because here's the thing about employment that nobody says out loud enough. Your career belongs to you. Your skills belong to you. But your job, it doesn't belong to you. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining on YouTube. Your job is a relationship between you and an organization. And like all relationships, your job can change. It can end, it can shift in ways that you didn't choose and in ways that you didn't even cause. And the smarter you are, the more you understand this principle right here, and the heavier that awareness sits with you. And I believe a lot of women are carrying that weight right now. I think that they're carrying it quietly. I think they're carrying it within their professional contexts. And I believe that they're carrying it without letting it show. And it's making the idea of building something feel less like an ambition and more like survival planning. And real talk, that right there is the most honest context. Because we have been sold this very specific narrative about what success looks like, right? Get your degree, build your career, become dependable, become dependable, become dependable, and get excellent and become indispensable. Climb the ladder. And implicit in all of this is the promise that if you do these things well enough, you'll be protected, you'll be stable, you'll be safe. But here is what these past few years have proven to us. Prestige and protection are not the same thing. A good title, it doesn't automatically create options. A six-figure salary doesn't automatically mean that you're not one Zoom call, phone call, email away from a very different financial reality. And being excellent at your job is not the same thing as being insulated from a decision that happens from leadership, from someone higher up the organizational chart, right? And that realization, it changes people. It changed me. I have watched it change people. The moment you truly understand that your job could change through no fault of your own, not theoretically, we are not talking theory here, but viscerally, that is the moment that you start thinking differently about income. Because you'll start asking different questions. You're not going to be asking the question of, how do I make more money? Because money is not the problem here, right? You might start asking the question, how do I make sure that my money isn't all sitting in one place? And that's when the conversation around skills and income and coaching and building something of your own, it stops being abstract inspiration and it starts being a real conversation about your real life. About your real life. If you are tracking with what I'm saying, give this video a thumbs up. Let me know in the chat. So now I want to talk about something else that's underneath all of this, because I think it's important. And, like most things that we talk about here on Nick at Noon, I don't feel like it gets talked about enough. I want to talk about the emotional cost of financial dependence. Somebody drop financial dependence in the chat. Because dependence doesn't just affect your bank account. Dependence affects your decisions. It affects what you will and will not tolerate. It affects how you negotiate. It affects how long you stay in environments that you have outgrown, because leaving these environments, it feels too risky when one paycheck is carrying the whole thing. It's carrying your mortgage, it is carrying your health insurance, it is carrying your retirement plan, it is carrying your kids' tuition, it is carrying your entire lifestyle. And when one source of income is carrying all of that, work stops being just work. Work starts becoming something that you can't afford to lose. And when you can't afford to lose something, you start making decisions based on what you stop making decisions based on what you want, because you don't have that control. So you start making decisions based on what you can't afford to risk. And that right there is a very different way to move through your life. If you are feeling what I'm talking about today, I want you to give this video a thumbs up. Let me know. Let me know. I always say I'm like the Baptist preacher. I need an amen quarter up in here. Now, think about what it feels like to know you've outgrown your role, but you stay anyway because the benefits are too good to walk away from and you don't have a plan B. Think about that. Think about what it feels like to watch a colleague get passed over for a promotion because they deserved it, and you feel like you might be in the same position and there's nothing you can do about it except keep performing at your excellent best and hope that it doesn't happen to you. That low grade tension, that constant awareness of your own dependency, that's the emotional cost of having only one stream of income. And a lot of women have been living inside of this for so long that it just feels like work. It just feels like, you know what? This is just how it is. But I want to challenge that. This is Mindset Monday here on Nick at Noon. I want to challenge that, because common is not the same as fine. And what's been normalized, it does not have to stay your normal. And I am not telling you this to create fear. I'm telling you this because I think calling it out clearly is the first step to doing something about it. And the women who are building something additional right now, the women who are creating income outside of their 9 to 5, they're not all doing it because they hate their job. Some of them are, let's be clear, but they're not all doing it because I didn't hate my job at all, but yet I started building something on the side. I loved my job. Let me be clear, it was the best company and position that I had ever worked for in my entire career. But I still started building something anyway on the side. So not everybody's building something on the side because they hate their jobs. A lot of women, they are doing it because they want the feeling of knowing that when life shifts, not if, when life shifts, they have something. They are building the thing that makes a worst case scenario survivable. And the beautiful part is, in doing that, they're making their current situation more spacious too. What do you mean by spacious, Nick? I'm glad that you asked. Here's what I mean by spacious. It means you can say no to the project that is destroying you because you have something else in motion. It means that you can negotiate a raise without being nervous or shaking because you're not entirely dependent on whatever the outcome of that answer is going to be. More spacious, it means you can leave when the environment becomes toxic, because leaving doesn't mean a free fall. And let me pause right there. Toxic environments in your professional and your perfect life, in your personal life. So that is what a second stream of income does. It changes the power dynamic between you and your circumstances, both professionally and personally. And that shift is something that I believe every woman deserves. Do you feel like you deserve that? I feel like I deserve that. Now, let me talk about what's in the way, because it's not what you think it is. I talk to a lot of women about building additional income from their skills. Like, this is currently my life's work. And the conversation almost always hits the same wall, because these women will tell me things like, I don't think what I know is special enough, or other people know way more than I do, or I'm not really an expert, or they'll say things like, I don't have a big enough following. And then, of course, I always hear this one, I'm not ready yet. And the interesting thing about this is that these are almost always women who are considered excellent by everybody else around them. These are women that people call when they need to think something through. These are the women whose calendars are full of other people's problems that's being solved by their insight. Does that sound like you? These are women who informally mentor, who get pulled into projects specifically because of what they know. These are women who have been training other people on the skills they claim are not impressive enough to package. And I want you to think about that for a second, because there is something very interesting happening there. The same woman who will spend 45 minutes on a phone helping a friend navigate a problem or a decision for free, that same woman will turn around and say she doesn't know enough to charge for the same exact kind of guidance that she just gave. And I'm going to ask you something else, and I want you to drop your answer in the comments. What is the thing that people come to you for without being asked? What do people call you about? What's the thing that's hitting your inbox? What conversations do you have on repeat? Drop it in the comments, because I want to know. Because what I've consistently found is that the thing that you do naturally is usually the thing that you have spent the longest dismissing. And here's something else that I want to say while we're talking about this right here, because this is the part a lot of women skip over. Coaching is one of the most overlooked paths for women to build additional income. And when I say coaching, I don't mean what Instagram and TikTok has turned coaching into. I don't mean the person who is screaming motivational content at you with a ring light and a 7-figure income claim. I'm talking about the real literal definition of coaching, which is helping someone get from where they are to where they want to be using the skills, knowledge, experience, and expertise that you already have. And here's why that happens. Familiarity. So the thing that feels very familiar and natural to you, it hides its value from you. And it happens so commonly in women because we tend to apply a very specific standard to ourselves. And that is, if it comes easily to me, it must not be that impressive. If it feels natural, it must be ordinary. If I've been doing it for years, surely everybody can do this, but that is not how skills work. That's not how skills work, y'all. The ease you feel around a skill is usually evidence of mastery, not evidence that the skill is simple. The fact that something comes naturally to you after years of doing it, it means you've internalized something that other people are still actively struggling with. And that right there, that is exactly what people pay a premium for. People are paying to shorten the gap, to lessen the gap, to close the gap. They're paying to get in 10 to get a transformation in 10 sessions, what it might have taken you 10 years to figure out. They're paying for the shortcut that your skills, your knowledge, and your experience represents. But here's the part in all of this that matters most. If you have a 9 to 5, your company has already validated your skills. So every promotion that you received was a company saying that your skills are worth more. Every time, every single time that you are pulled into a strategy conversation, a hiring decision, a difficult client situation, an organizational problem, that right there is institutional validation. This is people saying to you that we need what you have. And the only shift that needs to happen is recognizing that what those companies needed is also what other people need. And it's just outside of a company context, right? And it's also attached to your name instead of your company's logo. And that is the entire shift, because you're not starting from scratch. You are not trying to become somebody or something that you're not. You are literally taking the skills that have already been validated in one context and then building a structure that makes those skills available in another context. And I really want you to understand this, that is not some huge leap of faith, because truly it is the most natural extension of your career and your life experience that already exists. But here's the other thing, and I want to say this very carefully because I think it truly matters. Most women were taught how to perform their skills. Very few women were taught how to own their skills. And there is a difference between those two things. Performing your skills means showing up inside of a structure that someone else built and contributing what you know to their objectives. That's performing your skills. Owning your skills, it means recognizing that the knowledge, the frameworks, the judgments, the pattern recognition, the experience, the skills that you've accumulated, all of that belongs to you. That is ownership. All of that travels with you. They do not live in the building that you log into every morning, that you badge into every morning. They don't disappear when the company disappears or when the company restructures. That does not get left behind when you leave. Your skills are portable. Your knowledge is yours. And the moment that you emotionally, I mean, truly emotionally understand that, not just intellectually, but emotionally, something truly starts to shift. Because now you're not just an employee. You are a woman with real assets, and you have assets that can create income in more than one place. I say it all the time. Your 9 to 5 should be the first investor in your business. Now I want to talk about something else that keeps women from building. And it's something, again, that I just don't think gets talked about enough. I believe that a lot of women have this idea that building something new means becoming a different kind of person. Like becoming visible, it requires you to become visible in a way that feels foreign, or it requires you to become a person who talks about yourself on the internet. Or maybe you might feel like it requires you to become someone with a platform and a brand and an audience. And because that version of success, it doesn't feel like who you are, like it doesn't resonate with you, a lot of women just mentally opt out of this whole thing. And I have heard women say things like, you know what, Nick, that's not my style. They'll tell me I'm not interested in becoming an influencer, or that they don't want to be all over social media. And let's be clear, I completely understand that, because social media, what it has done, it has distorted what building a coaching business looks like. Like it has completely switched, changed, morphed, and rearranged what a coaching business looks like. I mean, Instagram has given everybody this very specific image, and that is perfect lighting and high energy reels. And you have to have a big audience. You have to pump out constant content. You have to perform. And I'll be honest, that is exhausting to just watch. Like, I know what's required to create content. And so when I see, coaches who are perpetuating this influencer life as the only way to build a coaching business, I get tired of just looking at it, let alone trying to replicate it. I'm going to be very, very honest. My first round in this coaching space, that's what I did. I tried to replicate it, and guess what happened? I got tired. I burned out. But that's just one version of what it is. It's not the only version of this, y'all. Some of the most successful, talented coaches that I know, they are building quietly. They're building specifically, and they're building strategically. They're serving a small, highly targeted group of people, and they're serving those people exceptionally well. So they don't need viral moments. They needed clarity, credibility, and consistency. And those things, you already have them. And you have been building them for years. You have been building them for years. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. So the other thing that I want to say is this. The thing that's been sitting in your notes app for the last 2 years, I want you to go look at it right now. Like, seriously. You can step away, pick up your phone if it's right there. You can pause if you need to, if you're watching the replay. Go look at the thing that's been in your notes app. Because I think a lot of women are treating their ideas like rough drafts that will never be good enough to publish. And meanwhile, those ideas, they're just sitting there. They're waiting while another month passes. If it's not your notes app, maybe it's a journal that you write in. The idea that's in your notes app, the one that you have revised 17 times in your head but never said out loud, that is not a failure. That is evidence. It is evidence that you already know what you want to build. It is evidence that your brain has been trying to move you towards something. It is evidence that there is something in you that has not yet been expressed through the work that you've been doing for someone else. So what's sitting in your notes app right now? What's sitting in your journal? What's sitting in your Google Doc? Drop it in the comments, and it's not judgment. I want to see what's there, because I have a feeling that some of you are sitting on something that is more ready than you realize. And here's the other piece of this that I think matters. You can be proud of what you built. You can value your job, and you can value the people that you work with. And you can still quietly and clearly know that you were meant to have something more. Those are not contradictory feelings. They are both true at the same time. And the fact that you feel both of them, it doesn't mean that something is wrong. It means that your instincts, that your intuition, that your discernment is functioning. That's what it means. Somebody dropped discernment in the comments. Now, I want you to, if you're just joining live, I want you to stay with me for this section, because I want to have a real conversation about what waiting is costing. And I mean that in the most concrete and non-motivational way possible, because I think a lot of women think about waiting as this neutral act, like putting something on pause, like it's pressing hold, like nothing changes while you wait. But waiting is not neutral. Waiting is a choice, and it is a choice that comes with consequences. And the consequences are just quiet enough that most people don't feel it until they look up and realize how many years have passed. So I want to be direct. I'm going to be very direct here. Every year that you spend waiting to build your offer is a year of income you didn't make. Every year you spend saying, I'm going to get started soon, it's coming soon, to whatever the idea is that you have in your journal or your notes app, that is a year of clients that you didn't serve. Every year that you treat your skills like something that only matters inside of someone else's company, that is a year of assets that you didn't build for yourself and your family. And this is not a guilt trip, y'all. This is math. And I want to go a little deeper on this because I think there's an emotional layer underneath the waiting that doesn't get talked about enough. So, a lot of women, they're not waiting because they don't know enough. They're not waiting because the timing is truly wrong for them. They're not waiting because they need more preparation. Most women are waiting because starting something new, it means being visible in a way that feels uncomfortable and it feels vulnerable. And visibility feels different when it's attached to something that you built, when it's your name on it, when it's your face, when it's your idea being evaluated by real people in real time. Because when you're inside of a company, if something doesn't work, it's a project that didn't take off. Like literally, you will try something else and you move on from it, right? When you're outside of a company and outside of that system, if something takes off, if something doesn't take off, it can feel like a verdict on you personally, and you take it personally. It can feel like the market looked at what it is that you created and then they decided that it wasn't worth it. And that fear is terrifying. It's so terrifying that it keeps a lot of very capable women in preparation mode indefinitely. And let me be very clear. I understand that fear because I have felt that exact feeling. In fact, it is something that I have to overcome every single day. But I want to give you a different perspective. Can I give you a different perspective? Building something imperfect and learning from that imperfect thing, that is not failure. That is the only path to building something better. And the coaches who you admire, the coaches who you admire that make it look effortless, they had a very first draft that wasn't perfect. They had a launch that was quieter than they hoped. They had a first offer that needed to evolve. They built in public before they built it well. And the only reason they know what works now is because they started before they knew everything. The fact of the matter is, you will not feel ready when you start. You won't. But because you won't feel ready, that is not a sign or a signal for you to wait longer. That is the real feeling. That's exactly what it feels like to start something new. And it doesn't go away before you start. It goes away as you build. Momentum creates confidence, and it doesn't happen the other way around. And the sooner that you understand that, the sooner you can stop waiting for the confidence to arrive before you can start to feel that momentum. And here's something that I really want you to write down if you're taking notes. Women, we have been taught that waiting is responsible. We've been taught that waiting is thoughtful, that it means you're taking whatever the thing is seriously and not rushing into something, right? And so waiting has switched in a lot of women's minds. It has switched from I'm afraid to start Two, I'm being smart about this. But here is the honest question that I want you to think about. How long have you been being smart about this? Because if the answer is more than 6 months, if the answer is more than a year, then you're waiting. That is not a strategy. And I'm not saying this to be harsh. I'm saying it because I believe that there are women in this audience right now who have had the same conversation with themselves for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. The ones who have spent those years getting more qualified, more prepared, more informed, and who still haven't made an offer. The women who are still telling themselves that when the conditions feel a little more right, when they feel a little more confident, when the idea is a little bit more solidified and developed, that's when you're going to move. But meanwhile, time is the only thing that none of us can get back. Now, I want to go back to talking about this notes app, journal, Google Doc graveyard, because I think most women have one. I believe you have all these ideas in your journal, in your notes app, in your Google Doc. And, whether it's one of those things, it's pages full of ideas that you have visited and revisited. Am I right? I have it. I have one. I have several. I have journals, notes, apps, and Google Docs. I have all the things. Business concepts, offer ideas, things you could help people with. Names, you have even brainstormed names for your business. Am I talking about you today? What my pastor used to say, pick up your feet because I'm coming down your lane. You have thought about names for your business. You have thought about taglines, right? You've invested real mental energy in these things. You thought about these things at 2 a.m. when you couldn't sleep, or you're dreaming about them. Like it's literally happening in your dreams. You have refined these things in your head while you were supposed to be in a meeting about something else entirely different. Is this you? If this is you, just give this video a thumbs up. I don't know who likes these videos, who gives these video a thumbs up, but if I'm talking about you, if I am coming down your lane and you need to pick up your feet, give this video a thumbs up, because here's what I want you to know. A, you're not alone. And B, those are not random thoughts. Those are signals. It is literally your brain. It keeps you returning to these ideas because something in you recognizes that there is real potential there. And every time you close that app without moving forward, or you close that journal, or you click off that Google Doc, there is a small part of you that registers that is something that you chose not to. You chose to put it back. And then over time, those small choices, they accumulate into a story that you tell yourself about who you are and what you're capable of. And I don't want that to be your story. I don't want that to be your story. Because here's the thing that I know about momentum. What I know about momentum is it doesn't require you to be perfect to start. It requires you to start. Any start. I mean, like a conversation that you have with someone who could potentially become a client, or an offer you put on paper, even if everything changes about that offer later. Maybe it's a post that you publish before you feel fully ready. Because momentum comes from motion. And the only way to start building momentum is to stop waiting for the conditions to feel right, and decide that right is now. It is now. And it means with what you have. And it means that what you have is enough to start. Now, whether you're watching live or the replay, drop ready in the comments if you're done waiting, because I want to see who is in this room today who is ready to stop letting another year pass, another week, another month, another quarter. Because here's what I want you to understand about the cost of waiting. It is not just income. The income is the visible part, but underneath it is the version of yourself that you keep pushing into the future, the more capable version, the more financially free version, the version who made the decision and moved and found out that she was more ready than she thought. Every year you wait, that version stays out there far in the distance. Every year you move, that version gets closer. And I think that version of you has been patient long enough. She's been patient long enough. So here's the thing that I want to leave you with today. The offer you build, the offer that you don't build is the income that you don't make. And that is not just a quote. That is a literal statement about what happens when an idea stays in your notes app or in your journal or in a Google Doc forever. The income that was available to you is the income that you never collected. The clients that you could have served are the clients who went somewhere else or figured it out the hard way without you. The freedom you were building toward, it stayed on the other side of a decision that you keep postponing. You already have the skills. You have already put in the years. You have been validated by every employer who hired you, by every friend who calls you in the middle of the night, by every manager who promoted you, and by anybody who has pulled you into a conversation that mattered. The only thing left is the decision to build something around what you already know. Her Income Lab is happening on May 30th, y'all. It is one day live, and we are going to be building your offer in real time. We're going to be talking about your niche, your positioning, your pricing, your pitch. You will be leaving with something built, not planned. General registration is $147, or you can upgrade to the VIP experience for $297. The link is in the description, or you can visit my website at herincomeedit.com/workshop. Registration for Her Income Lab closes on May 29th. And if you've been on the fence, this is the conversation that was supposed to help you get off the fence. Drop offer in the comments. Share this episode with a woman in your life who keeps saying that she wants to build something, but she hasn't moved yet, because she needs to hear this. And I want to take a moment to thank all of you who popped in and out of this conversation today. Thank you for showing me love. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your presence. I truly appreciate it. I have an announcement. Nick at Noon is not going to be Monday through Friday starting this week. We will be going down to 3 episodes a week. So you can look for me on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, as opposed to Monday through Friday. And it will still be at noon Mountain Time. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn your notifications on so you do not miss a beat. Again, I'm going to repeat that just in case anybody missed it. We will not be Monday through Friday for Nick at Noon anymore. We are going to go Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It will still be Nick at Noon. So that is noon Mountain Time. Set your reminders, turn your notifications on, hit that subscribe button. And if you found any value in this conversation at all, let me know down in the comments. What was your biggest takeaway? All right. Thanks so much. And I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.